Just wanted to say a big thank you to the Mandy family, the husbands, the wives, the farm workers to make this farm available to us and organize this farm today. It's highly welcomed, appreciated. Thank you very much. So ek gaan net 'n bietjie gesels oor 'n paar belangrike resultate wat ons gekry het met ons opblaasproewe in die Hoofveld van Suid-Afrika en net erkenning gee aan my mede-spanlede. Ten minste is Jaap hier so, daar julle het vir Jaap gesien, nee, dit is nou nie, maar hulle is almal baie noue spanmaats van ons. Right, so we will essentially speak about results that we do in our Conservation Agriculture Farmer Innovation Program, which is currently implemented by Asset Research, our team, and funded by the Maize Trust. I just want to, before I start, to recapture what some of my colleagues, Andrew, Fritz, and many of you are trying to do right now for the last couple of years. We're trying to work as closely as possible to farmers, like the Mandys, to increase their awareness, knowledge, and skills. In other words, their innovation capacity. That determines almost everything. And then to transform and adapt their farming systems, to regenerate and conserve their soil and other ecosystems, and sustain high, stable levels of production, and reduce their risk and maximize profits through regenerative conservation agriculture, CARA. Doesn't matter what we call it today. Why? Because we've lost about 50% of our carbon in our soils due to tillage. That means we are actually trying to farm on degraded soils. We lose 13 tons per hectare per year just from water erosion on tilled soils. We lose a lot of soil from wind erosion. Bare soil is not good, we lose soil. We create warmer landscapes and we decrease the chances of precipitation. If you look at the left-hand white block, it's not drought that causes bare ground, it is bare ground that causes drought. So we, like Andrew said, there's a real concern of desertification. We really need to watch that. Not only in the west, but also in the east, as Michael said. Our windstorms are really severe here. We lose biodiversity. And this report last year highlights a global crisis, revealing that catastrophic decline of 73% in wildlife populations over the last 50 years. And if you look at the causes of biodiversity loss, pollution, habitat loss, overexploitation, invasive species, climate change, you can see the footprint of agriculture there. So, if you look at that beautiful potential of our ecosystems and soil health, it's really there to help us. But instead, on farm levels, due to this loss of our ecosystems, farmers are paying for the loss of these ecosystem services through rising production inputs, adding a huge and unsustainable burden on the financial viability of farming. So we need to change this vicious downward cycle around. So for that, we actually need a full 360-degree holistic approach to actually change it around. That means for every farmer, ABC, we need to have policies and institutions in place. We need awareness, outreach, financial incentives, mechanisms, funding, services, support services like extension and advisory support, education and training, and also research. So research is only one of the many elements that we need to transform farmers towards regenerative agriculture. But if we want to do research, we really need to do it well and follow the right approach. So what we do is on-farm research with farmers as key partners and innovators, because they are. So we call it in scientific terms of the participatory systems approach. So we have a series of collaborative managed trials, fully scientific trials, in key summer grain regions that you can see there on your right hand side in the Highveld area, to research and develop evidence-based context-sensitive CARA systems. Those are the trial sites. You can see some starting in the Highveld, Kinross, Standerton, and then we had trials in the northeastern Free State. Some of the farmer co-workers are here. At the moment, we have trials in the Maluti Eastern Free State region, Markwart, Tokelaan, Viljoenskroon area, Ottosdal, and Barbespan. Those are the sites, the areas where our trials are. In the last 10 years, we've seen evolution of our trials. We started, as you can see on the left-hand side, just to investigate the different CARA components, like crop rotations, crop density, cover crops, etc. And then later we moved on to compare the different systems, like conventional, no-till, CA systems. We still do that, but we're also starting to refine our CARA systems at the moment with some of our trials, trying to really develop the best CARA systems in those regions and contexts specifically. And we always try to aim for a resilient, profitable, low risk and sustainable CARA systems. That's what we are aiming for. Just to show you what our on-farm trials look, it's long strips, big enough to really do all the treatments well. It's fully scientific with enough replications and treatments, well designed, and working with selected farm co-workers. Not all the farm co-workers are ready to work with us in this fashion. Not all farmers are good trial co-workers. So, and that's fine, but we want to work with those who like to do these kind of trials, who are good with that, and that's not all of them. And hats off to those farm co-workers that do these trials on their farm and help us and the whole community and the agricultural sector to develop these trials and the data. If you wonder what we mean by a fully integrated CARA system in grain crops or mixed grain crop livestock systems, this is how it looks. So we usually start with the first season with a typical intercropping system like Michael has shown us, or a relay intercropping system with maize, for example. And then the second season we have typically a double cover crop system, which simply means we have a multi-species summer cover crop system, followed by a multi-species winter cover crop system. Obviously, livestock integration, proper grazing systems on it. And then the next season followed up by either soya, winter cover crop, or sunflower intercropping. And obviously, I hope you can see the quality application of all the 5 principles of CARA here. No-till, diversity, livestock integration, living roots in the soil, and I hope you can see that as we move through the seasons with the application of the different systems and treatments. And obviously there are so many different combinations and permutations of these principles and systems in typical Highveld farming systems. But your question is immediately, and that's our question, a research question also, what are the financial or the profitability possibilities of these systems? So I did some calculations. We do a lot of financial analysis as well, because it is really vitally important to have the right financial data if we talk about these systems. In a normal good year, this is what you can get at the moment with current commodity prices from intercropping systems. In other words, you have a double profit. You need to understand that. You have income, profits from your grain crops, and then also later in the season, grain in the winter or the intercrop in the winter, we have income from our livestock as well. So it's a double profit, double crop, grain and meat. So for the maize, typically we will get 15,000 Rand per hectare profit in cash. And from the meat of the intercrop, typically 6,000 rand per hectare in cash. And then from the dung of the livestock, if we calculate that into kind of cash in the soil, it works out around 1,700 rand per hectare nutrients per year. So the total profit of this system is about 22,000 rand. And then we haven't even calculated in all the other ecosystem services, because Jaap asked me, what about the saliva, the urine, the trampling, the biodiversity? Those ecosystems are also there that contributes in kind. And we need to start to calculate that as well. If we look at the second system, what is the profit there in a typical year as we have now? Only from livestock, because only grazing, only livestock. In cash, about 17,000 rand from the meat. From the nutrients of the dung, because there's higher biomass, longer grazing periods, more animals, more dung to the soil. That nutrients amounts to about 4,700 rand. So total profit, this system is also about 22,000 rand. And many other ecosystem services comes in as well. Right, so it's important to look carefully at your finances, and like Andrew said, don't just scratch on the back of your matchbox, but work with spreadsheets and calculate, do proper calculations. Obviously, as you've heard from Michael and Andrew and Fritz and all the rest, the grazing management strategies with the cover crops are really important, how we manage it. What we also do in one of our trials in Viljoenskroon, because many farmers, especially in the West, don't have animals, they don't like animals, that they might not be able or want to integrate animals in this fashion. So we have a treatment where we just roll down the cover crops, and we will see where we get in terms of long-term sustainability and profitability. It's going to be interesting. So we try to measure as many as possible indicators on these trials. There's a couple of them. Soil health, obviously, agronomy, the production and efficiency, integrated pest management, weeds, livestock integration, carbon and climate change, profits, risk and resilience. Those are some of the measurements we do. Obviously, those trials create platforms to invite many students, universities, other people to just come and measure, come and help us to get good data and share those data with the farmers and everyone else interested. So just about to show you how much we actually measure. Just looking at the soil health at this stage, we do the Haney soil health test, the normal chemical analysis, nematode index for soil biodiversity, the spora check. It's a university at Stellenbosch lab for soil biology. Active carbon, we look at erosion, compaction and water infiltration, carbon sequestration modeling. If we look at production and financial analysis, we look at production, obviously yields, resource use efficiency, profitability, financial modeling, scenario analysis, and risk and resilience. So we try to really measure and analyze and interpret and share as much as possible. Just want to share a couple of results, a couple of examples. As I've shown you, this is just a snapshot of one of the financial calculations that we do. We do many more. But we realize and we ask the question, it's great to have a snapshot of what is going on with the finances right now. And one of the questions, and all of you have that question, is how is it going to look into the future? Into the next 5, 10, 15, 20, 30 years. And it comes back to that long-term vision that we need to have, but it's difficult. And we did this with a modeling exercise. We put together a team, a multidisciplinary team of people with natural sciences, economists, accountants, just to make sure that we really get the data right. We use some of our trial data. We make strong, realistic, relevant assumptions on prices, etc. And we did this calculation on a couple of scenarios, comparing these different systems, and we actually published this. And if you're interested in this publication, it was published last year in South African Journal of Science. I can share it with you. But I just want to share in brief what we found. And like I said, this is from Mpumalanga. It's one scenario. Many scenarios are possible. But it is interesting, nevertheless, to look at this. You can see the conventional tillage, the red one, no tillage, the purple one, and CA optimistic best option, and CA conservative option. So you can see the no-till, the conventional tillage is going strong for a couple of years, 5, 6, then it crashes completely. Okay, we measure cumulative cash flows, in other words, profits. That is what measures on the vertical axis, and it goes up or down, and the middle is the break-even point. So the red crashes, the no-till, the purple is going on, it lifts its head, but it seems to be tapering down at year 10 or 11. This is 10, 11 years of simulation. And you can see the CARA systems have a dip in the first year or two, and then it's starting to build up its profits and goes up into safe territory and lifts it and manages to lift its head. So what happens here? The dip in the CARA system was, in this scenario, for the investment in a tool to restore soil. What is that? It's cattle, as Andrew and all the others told us. We need the cattle because we have much more biomass from the cover crops, and we need the cattle to stabilize the income and also do various other ecosystem services. Reasons for the decline in conventional tillage and no-till: declining soil health, high levels of production inputs maintained, more frequent capital replacement costs and equipment, increase in maintenance costs. Just want to zoom in on that because that is really important. Before I go there, two important research questions. We saw the J-curve. What do farmers need to navigate through the J-curve? That is a research question for all of us, and we're really trying to work hard on that. And I'm going to touch on that. Research question 2, fine-tuning for more sustainable, profitable, resilient systems. We need to fine-tune, improve the CARA system to even lift faster and quicker. That's what we are trying to do as well. This is just to show the difference in input costs, fertilizer, herbicide, pest control, and fuel, between CA red and no-till over 10 years, and the green are the CARA systems over 10 years. There's a more than 100% increase in those input costs compared to very little increase in the CARA system. It can and it will, and it does have a major impact on your profitability. And then also much neglected insight that the maintenance and replacement cost, wear and tear in the yellow, replacement in the brown cost between conventional no-till CARA over 20 years has a huge impact on the profitability and resilience of the system. Okay, we also did integrated risk barometer, where we looked at the internal risk that's under the control of a farmer, like soil organic matter, water use efficiency, soil cover is part of that, counts 25%. We looked at the external risks, the 25% weight, in other words, the external production inputs, and then the profitability, which counts 50% in the development of this risk and resilience index. So what we found, if we use the trial data, our own cattle and long-term yields of that area, of all the trials, or 4 trials over 4 years, that is what we get. And the higher the index, the more resilient and less risky the system is. The CA-RA system, 74%, no-till 42%, and conventional till it's 11%. So that means CA is 544% higher than conventional tillage. CA 75% more than no tillage in terms of the risk and resilience of the system. Final couple of slides, we also measure, like you've seen, a lot of soil health variables. We found very little changes in the transformation period, but if you look at the soil organic carbon of the different trial sites, Marquardt, Standerton, Kinwitz, you see a slight increase at Marquardt between conventional no-till CA, a slight increase in Standerton, no increase in Kinross, and a slight increase in Klokkelaan over 4 years. In Ottosdal, in only 2 years, we've seen a relatively significant increase from the base of 0.53, a no-till monocrop 0.56, no-till rotation 0.6, and CA system 0.67%, which is quite surprising in those dry areas. In a study we did last year, well, the total number of farmers were about 75, maybe half of them were conservation farmers. We asked them, how did you transform your systems to regenerative agriculture? So the first message is that they improved their awareness, knowledge and skills. In other words, their innovation capacity to be able to change. They did YouTube, they visited these farmers' days, they read, they just build up that awareness and skills base of them. Because they realize they need to know much more if they want to apply this correctly. And then they also did a lot of on-farm testing to get to good quality data and adapting of CA practices. And they started small, they started right, and if I can use the words of Andrew, and they scaled out strategically, practically, incrementally to the rest of their farms. They also form or join partnerships, networks for support, holding their hands, for example, study groups. It's really important if you want to flourish and fly. They also seek assistance from farmers, mostly, other farmers doing it, research and technical experts. That is the main steps or criteria that farmers use to transform their systems. And then the benefits come. In 1 to 2 years, addressing erosion, lower their machinery maintenance, replacement costs, increase soil, water and climate and weather resilience. In the next 3 to 5 years, the knowledge and skills just increases further. The soil health and fertility improves, lower production input costs, and improved biodiversity. Just a couple of conclusions to close off. Like I said, we've seen changes in most ecosystem services during the transition period are very small. For example, the soil health parameters, the soil organic carbon percentage. Because the ecosystem services are mostly, like soil health, are mostly still degraded. They don't function yet. Soil organic carbon need to reach, at least in most cases, a level of 1% before those functions start to work. And you will see them providing free services without paying for that. So we also see that after successful transitioning, integrated CSRs can improve the ecosystem functions and services. They do reduce risk and resilience and sustainability of mixed crop livestock farming systems. But we also saw that increasing the livestock integration to much higher levels requires higher risk tolerance and management capacity. You really need to do what you want with the livestock integration. And then on-farm trials with high levels of farmer participation and execution. They also need to do that. Prove to be a reliable research and learning tool to advance sustainable crop production. And with that, I think we agree that we really need to get the ball rolling. Keep on with that. And thank you very much.